The remains of 4 Aboriginal ancestors have finally been laid to rest in a traditional ceremony near Wellington Caves after being returned to the local Aboriginal community. The Australian Museum facilitated the handover as part of a wider program.
The Australian Museum is prioritising the repatriation of Aboriginal ancestors back to their traditional countries and looking at ways in which we can expedite that process. The Australian Museum recognises that although ancestors were collected in the past for scientific purposes, that today they really need to be sent home and taken care for by their communities.
The journey for these ancestors began with an official handover ceremony in Sydney with Wiradjuri elders who'd made the journey from Wellington.
As an Aboriginal person, I feel everyone has a cultural responsibility to make sure all these old people go back home. So it's important to continue practicing our culture so we can continue to pass these old people over through ceremony.
And I welcome you all here today on behalf of the Binjang clan of the Wellington Nation.
The ancestors were then welcomed back to country with a traditional Wiradjuri ceremony held near Wellington Caves in central West New South Wales.
I still had a little bit of goosebumps and here in the back of the net, and very satisfying to see our old people coming back to home country, Nurangu as we call it. And the significance of what's happened today, it's just like the cenotaph war memorial to the Australian people. It's the same significance, if I can put it that way.
Local elders, school kids and community members all welcomed the repatriation.
Very special day, bringing the ancestors back and putting them to rest, which would be very pleasing to them. When I go, at least I know I've done something, for the Wiradjuri people.
I was honoured to see our ancestors be rest and put where they belong.
It's a privilege to see your ancestors being laid to rest. It was really cool to be involved with all this.
Today made me feel happy because all the bad spirits went away and all the good spirits came back.
I think it's a really good outcome that's happened here today. The ancestors are now back to the land where they've come from and the land in which they would have walked through and lived, and now they're back in country, back on land again in the resting place, their final resting place. It's one that brings a feel of accomplishment. It's something that makes you proud to be part of, and I'm sure people who've got Wiradjuri connections would feel the same.
The event marked a special significance to the Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council.
I was really happy that everybody came together to be involved in it so today could run smoothly. Even having the dancers here in Wellington, the people involved in Wellington all the way to Sydney, it was a very special, very sacred, and I was really glad to be involved to bring them home, not only for my community but for the ancestors.
The repatriation process was led by Heritage New South Wales in line with the wishes of the Wellington Aboriginal community.
Since 2015, up until the final repatriation today, Heritage New South Wales and the Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council have undertaken the repatriation of 13 sets of ancestral remains, all provenance to the Wellington area. We were able to consult effectively with all the landholders, including reserve trust holders, private property owners, council and all local government and state government to return those ancestors to where they come from.
Very gratifying from the government, being recognised as a people now, and we can bring our people back home and lay them to rest in their home country.
At least they're at rest. That was our main thing, get them back here.
I can't explain how it made me feel. I was a part of the first repatch in 2016 and I still remember that day and how special and connected I felt to my community. So just to be here and be able to organise it and plan it for my community was an enormous responsibility that I was really honoured to do.